That is Chris Moxley. That is Felix Sharp. I am Matt Bruning. We are going to be previewing the Thursday night and Friday night college football games for week 1 right after this. College football is back, baby. We have 21 games on tonight. I honestly don't even know how many games we have on tomorrow night, but we have, I think, just as many good games tomorrow. TCU Stanford. I know Chris Moxley's going to be glued into his TV to see Cedric Irvin and Ashton Daniels tomorrow. Alec A.O. Manor. Felix Sharp, Chris Moxley here with me, Matt Bruning. We are going to be previewing the Thursday night and Friday night football games.
I want everybody to know that I can handle not having control of the microphone and not driving. Okay, go ahead, Matt.
That's debatable, obviously, with what just happened right there. But we'll be previewing the Thursday, Friday night football games for tonight. I mean, again, as I mentioned, big slate, 21 games. The main teams playing: North Carolina, Minnesota. What does this new Utah team look like with Brant Keithy and Cam Rising back and hopefully fully healthy? Could Colorado get upset? There was a lot of talk about that earlier this offseason. Could North Dakota State knock them off? And Felix Sharp was praising Taylon Green last night on Campus to Canton Live. The Taylon Green era kicks off here at Arkansas. Chris Moxley, I'm going to come to you first. What is the game you're looking forward to the most tonight?
Tonight, it's got to be UNC Minnesota answers. One is what does Max Brosmer look like in the Minnesota offense?
Chris, blender. Chris, say it again because you just you cut out. So
cut out pretty bad.
You cut out really bad.
All right. So I was gonna say UNC Minnesota is my favorite. I think we're gonna get a lot of answers. What does Max Brosmer look like in the offense? What does the UNC quarterback situation look like? They're going to probably rotate between Connor Harrell and Max Johnson. Maybe Jacoby Criswell gets involved. I don't think that Darius Taylor is going to go for Minnesota tonight. So my expectation is that we see some Marcus Major. We see some Sabek Gora. I think Daniel Jackson's going to play, though, for Minnesota. So hopefully he's healthy. It'll be an interesting game. I have a lot of questions.
I know people are wondering. Chris is actually broadcasting from behind that bookshelf like Matthew McConaughey in Interstellar. That's where Chris is going live from.
Felix, what about yourself?
His takes have to cross interdimensional time and space to actually reach us. That's the reason that's happening.
Felix, what is the game you are looking forward to the most here as Moxley gets ready to send in his next
I'm trying to look for the game where I know the least about. So there are two, actually.
Okay, go ahead. What are they?
Eastern Illinois and Illinois. I want to know, and I don't know. It's not that I don't know a lot about Eastern Illinois, but obviously I believe Caden Fegan is a breakout in 2024, so I want to see that one. But to be honest with you, I want to know how Central Michigan's offense is going to look. There's this, is it Jake Lebus, the quarterback, Iowa transfer? They play at 7 against Fordham. Fordham stand up. That's the Chase Edmonds, Florida alumni. I was trying to pull that out of my verse. So I'm looking forward to, I'm looking forward to everything. I'm looking forward to having multiple screens on at the same time, et cetera, but I'm really looking forward to Central Michigan. They take on, who is that? Central Connecticut. And then, of course, I come on, man. If Caden Fegan is going to have the breakout year, he starts with 150 plus on the ground versus Eastern Illinois today.
It might be possible. He should be in for a pretty big game. I'm obviously looking forward to the Colorado game. There's obviously been a lot of talk. We talked a lot about this offseason. I know Chris was actually pretty, what's the word I want to, talked very positively of Colorado last night on Campus to Canton Live. I guess some of us here at the network are known for hating on Colorado quite a bit. A lot of talk that, North Dakota State could possibly upset Colorado. I don't know that happens. They are, I think, it was like 14-point favorites as of right now. So, at least the Sharps in Vegas are not expecting them to get upset in this one, but I think that's probably, 10. They're 10.5 right now. I think that's going to be one. Coastal Carolina, Jacksonville State is an interesting one to me as well. Jacksonville State just getting the 3.5 points. And then obviously Friday night, TCU Stanford. And then I really want to watch Aiden Childs in his first game as a starter, Michigan State versus FAU, which, Michigan State, they're getting 14. So they're expected to beat FAU, but I want to see what Aiden Childs looks like. Those are kind of the games that I'm looking forward to the most, but I'm right there with you, Felix. I mean, YouTube TV has the quad box that they started last year, so I'll have 4 games going. I'll have 2 TVs up, so I'll have 8 games going if I possibly can at one time. It's going to be so nice to be back. Go ahead, Mox.
Do you think there's a real chance Colorado loses tonight? Because I'm not sure. Like, I don't want to say there's no chance. Obviously, like the spread isn't big enough, but I don't think Colorado's going to lose tonight.
I'm not expecting them to. You talked a lot about it last night on Campus to Canton Live with, their improved offensive line. I feel like we have, if you want to say that some of us here at the network have been, not as high on Colorado, we have given them a lot of props for their wide receiver room. It is arguably the best in all of college football, or it's right up there. So I think that, Shedeur, I think they are going to come out firing. I don't think Deion wants to lose week 1. I'll put it that way. So I would find it. I really don't know. I don't know, because I do think North Dakota State is a really good team as well. So I really don't know what to think. I imagine Colorado is going to win again. They're only getting 10.5 points. I expected it to be more. So people are expecting it to be a close game. I think we'll know pretty quickly if it's going to be a close game or not.
A lot of public money is on Colorado right now. Because like everybody loves to bet on Colorado. So I actually don't think it's a bad bet. I actually would be backing Colorado in this spot. So
okay. Felix, do you have any thoughts on the Colorado game? As one of the only people who
I don't expect that game to be competitive. I mean, if it is, that doesn't bode well for Colorado this season. I tell you what, though, y'all would love it if Colorado lost today. Austin wouldn't be able to sleep tonight.
Oh, yeah.
If Colorado lost. Wouldn't be able to sleep tonight from the excitement and the joy that he felt from his hate for Colorado. And if they lost tonight,
I'm rooting for Dakota State. I feel like I could be transparent about it. I want Colorado to lose.
If Colorado lost, Austin would be like blowing up our group chat about we need to do a college fantasy tonight. All of a sudden, he wants to start back up college fantasy tonight if Colorado loses. And that's what we'll spend the entire hour on, just talking about lifelong. Austin in the chat, lifelong North Dakota State fan here. This one's definitely here for you, Mox. Your boy, too. Well, Felix has got to. Felix is a big fan of Kyle Monangai. Start Kyle Monangai or sit Hampton tonight.
So we published our weekly rankings on the site, and I would go to there first and then start asking questions, just to plug that. A lot of work went into those, but I think you start Monangai. Like Hampton's prop is like 95-ish, 97-ish, depending where you look. I think Monangai could go for like 200. Howard's a really, really bad defense, like bad for FCS. Although I said the same thing about Delaware State last week, and Hawaii had trouble putting them away. So,
if I was a real professional, I would have just used that to segue right into just talking about the running back rankings, knowing that Kyle Monangai is ranked fairly highly, and we could have just thrown those rankings up and talked about them right then and there. That's why Felix hosts these shows, and I don't.
Do you need my help? Do I need to get it onto the screen?
I mean, if we're going like full transparency here, it's currently being uploaded at the moment. So I was, hoping maybe if you
can I filibuster for you for a second, then?
Yeah, go ahead, Chris.
Yeah,
absolutely, Chris. What do you think?
Because this question will come up today, it will come up tomorrow, and it'll come up Saturday. It'll even come up Sunday and Monday because we have games all the way up to Monday this week. Just because your player is in a matchup where they are favored by 30, 35, 40 points does not mean that you have to sit them. Garbage time exists because the best players show off against bad competition. I don't think that should be a disqualifier when you're making start to sit decisions. So we had a question earlier in the comments before I think we went live talking about Devin Neal. Devin Neal plays Lindenwood. Lindenwood is like a pretty bad FCS team. They're favored by like 45 plus. Yeah, I'm playing Devin Neal tonight. Like, I don't know that they can tackle Devin Neal. So is there a chance that you don't have a massive ceiling? Yeah. Like, I think you're going to get a pretty safe floor and pretty good game. That usually doesn't faze me in general. Same principle applies to Kyle Monangai, where Rutgers is favored by like 39.
Speaking of Kyle Monangai, there was a question in the chat by Andrew here asking, should we start Kyle Monangai or sit Hampton tonight? Well, Andrew, you're in luck. we've got running back rankings for week 1.
Oh, I love
All
the
right,
ranking. Love the way they look
we-
this year. That's great.
Chris
Oh,
Moxley has killed it with this stuff. So Mox, you are the Felix too. Felix Sharp too. Sorry, Felix. You know, I know Mox did a lot of the work last week, so I was trying to give him his roses as well. Mox, you are definitely, at least out of the three of us, by far the CFF mind out of all of this. So run us through these rankings. Obviously, Andrew, for your question, as you can see on here, Kyle Monungai, top 15 per campus to Canton. You do not see Hampton on here. Definitely roll with what Chris said a minute ago and start Kyle Monungai.
I don't have all the matchups in me, so I'm gonna be guessing where these teams are playing.
Go ahead and just throw them out, and I'll let you know.
All right, RJ Harvey's our number 1. We don't know what the role for Penny Boone's going to be, so I feel pretty good about them playing New Hampshire this week. Devin Neal, like I said earlier, rolling him out against Lindenwood. Ollie Gordon gets South Dakota. South Dakota is not nearly as good. I don't think there's an upset chance there, and he's going to get 30 touches. Ashton G&T gets Georgia Southern. Quentin Cooley and Liberty gets... Who does Liberty get this week?
Campbell,
yeah. Oh, right down the road from me. Nice matchup for them. Tulane gets, I believe, Norfolk State.
Southeastern Louisiana.
Okay, I have to remember all these FBS matchups. I have to remember all these FCF matchups. We're not reading the matchups. We're just going straight through now.
That's fine. That works. Go for it.
We got Ishmael Mahdi at Texas State, Jadon Blue at Texas, Abu Sama in his first year as a full-time starter for Iowa State, Gavin Sawchuk in Oklahoma against Temple. Jaden and Cal probably gets 25 to 30 touches there. Same with Taj Brooks at Texas Tech. DJ Giddens, we're projecting a breakout year for Kansas State. Hopefully he delivers week 1. LaQuint Allen and Syracuse, really excited about what Fran Brown is doing there. And the aforementioned Kyle guy going against Howard.
Who's your favorite? Do you have one, obviously the number 1 guy is probably your favorite, but who do you think has it? If we have RJ Harvey at 1, we're expecting him to do good, but who's that one out of this list you think could be the number 1 if it's not like those top couple guys?
That's a really good question. What about Mekhi Hughes?
Okay.
John Sumrall is the new head coach at Tulane, and he was previously at Troy, and we saw how many touches he gave Kamani Vidal. So I'm a big fan of the way this offense could go. And I know that they are heavily favored. That doesn't really bother me. I just think they might just run Hughes a bunch. I also really like Ishmael Mahdi at Texas State.
All right. Unfortunately, Felix is having to leave. He's got very important business to attend to, so he can make sure that he's able to watch college football tonight. So, Felix, before we get out of here, obviously, we will be live. Austin's in the chat, so he's about to find out right now. We're going live. What? Are we going live at 9 a.m. Eastern?
Oh, you said it.
It's out there now. It's out there. It's happening now. 9 a.m. Eastern.
This wasn't a Machiavellian thing. This wasn't Inception where I just implanted that idea into your head. But I guess so.
All right,
we'll be live Saturday morning, nice and early. Felix will, I'm sure, be hosting. Felix, any thoughts you want to give us before you have to get out of here on tonight's games, Friday's games?
No, I don't.
Okay.
Bye.
Amazing. Great analysis.
Do you want to answer the questions in the chat, or do you want to?
Yeah. Let's go. We will also go through the other positions. Just for those of you who just joined us, we were just talking about running backs. Where do you want to start? I see Austin in here pumping up Eli, and they call me.
I'm not talking about
Austin's
Eli Holstein.
In here talking about Eli Holstein.
Yeah, I'm not
starting it.
Yeah, I'm not.
Well, I'm going to go back to Braden here. Thoughts on Maffa for Clemson this weekend going against Georgia? Should get plenty of chances. Will he be able to break through?
You probably have a better starting option given how many FBS teams are playing FCS teams this week. So unless you really have to, I'd prefer not to. Like, what's his ceiling? 15 points?
I would say that's probably being generous. I think there's a realistic shot that Clemson gets dog walked by Georgia. Like that. Georgia,
I think they're going to play it really close. Georgia's going to keep it close mostly because they don't want to start doing tricks on it. Tobias asked, is ETN really suspended now for week 1? I have heard that ETN is not going to play this week. For what it's worth, I would be surprised if he played. I know he was on the depth chart. I believe he's on the depth chart, but no, I don't think he's going. Yeah, we have Sawchuk at 10 because Oklahoma is a 42.5-point favorite against Temple. So
Yeah.
Players are going to get run. Not really worried about Javonte Barnes. I just don't think he's very good, to be totally honest.
Yeah. I mean, I think that he will get some. I mean, yeah. So
He
Baylor Bears
absolutely will.
mentions that he was listed as the and or thing. I mean, but we expect
Not
Sawchuk to
concerned.
be the guy, and yeah, I think he's going to be just fine. He's more explosive than Barnes.
Yeah, not totally concerned. To be honest.
Braden, what says just hard trying to decide where to pick him up in CFB best ball drafts currently. You can catch him off in the 4th round as your RB2 for the week.
Depending on the format, I'm probably not taking much of him. Depending on what like draft you're talking about, I think there are better ways to draft and especially get different. I assume Maffa name recognition will mean that he's like higher rostered in these giant pools where you have to be different to win. That's just my approach this week. I don't actually know how many people are going to draft Maffa and where they're going to draft him though. Like obviously he'll be drafted. It's just like where do you start making that decision for unique builds? So I don't know. I'm generally speaking probably will have not a lot of him, and I think that'll bode well, especially if I'm entering like a bunch of contests.
Definitely keep throwing your questions in the chat if you have any more. Colin Boyer asked Quinn-Sean Judkins or Caden Fegan. I know Felix was just hyping up Caden Fegan before he jumped in. So, I mean, Judkins gets Akron.
Yeah. I don't know what our rankings say on this one specifically because they're probably really close. I'm going to lean Caden Fegan for what it's worth.
I mean, I can tell you. So we have Quinn-Sean at 33 and Fegan at 26. Projected difference in points by like 0.23. So
yeah, I was going to say
close.
They're both probably way up there.
Yeah, I mean, I got obviously the one concern you have to have with Judkins is how much Travion will get it. Do they pull any of those guys? I think they're getting 50 points against Akron. It's not expected to be a close game at all. So,
yeah.
Go ahead. I see another question from Andrew, so I'll throw that up. If go ahead, what do you got?
Yeah, no, I'll answer that question real quick. I actually wanted to address it.
Any worries about Mario Anderson not listed as bell cow at Memphis?
Yes. I do have worries. I think Sutton Smith is a good player. And I think I wouldn't be surprised if we saw a little bit of a rotation this week. They have a really, really easy matchup. Like, I think this offense could score like 60. They get North Alabama, who kind of got crushed by Southeast Missouri last week, one of our unders. So, yeah, I am a little worried. I'm not sure I want to play him, but I think you can for sure because the matchup is so good. Shout out to the someone advertising cheap viewers for us.
I appreciate it.
Yeah, get with my people. They'll talk to your people.
Yeah, thanks, Keen Gallery. We appreciate it. I'm sorry, Maddie Sabiu. Robbie asked, Will Howard, Ashton Daniels, Matthew Sluka, Cam Rising, and Noah Fafita. How do you view these guys for week 1? Well, I know we've got at least one of those guys in the top 15 at quarterback.
Yeah, why don't we pull up our quarterbacks?
There they are. So we've got there we go. Caden Salter at 1 with Liberty. Nicholas, I mess up his last name. Right? Vadiato for Middle Tennessee. Seth Hennigan at Memphis. Byron Brown, USF. KJ Jefferson, UCF. Jordan McLeod at Texas State. Dylan Gabriel for Oregon. Kyron Drones, Virginia Tech. Noah Fafita there at Arizona. Jackson Arnold for Oklahoma. Jalen Milroe with Alabama. Jalen Daniels for Kansas. Brady Cook with Missouri. Jackson Dart, Ole Miss. And Joey Aguilar with Appalachian State. No Austin. I'm not sure if you're a Pitt fan or just Eli Holstein fan club member. No Holstein. We're not sure how to rank him yet. Maybe next week. Maybe after
he's gonna like bench in the second quarter.
Maybe after he beats. They've got who does Pitt have this week actually?
Kent State. They're like 25 favorites. They'll be fine.
Yeah. Watch them only win by 4 or 5 or 6 or 7 because Eli Holstein. Hashtag not good at football.
Yeah. I'll answer the question with the graphic real quick. We have Noah Fafita 9. I think he is a really projectable outcome. We saw this New Mexico team last week. Defense can't tackle. They don't have good athletes. The guys just like aren't, to be totally honest, FBS players. The offense is probably going to keep up too, a little bit at least. So I like we saw for Devin Dampierre. So yeah, I like Fafita the best out of all those listed. Why do we like Vadiato so much? And I've had a lot of questions about this. Tennessee Tech, the team they're playing, is awful. Vadiato is a really productive player when he has the opportunity to be. Middle Tennessee is going to crush them, right? And there's not a ground game really at MTSU to speak of. And yeah, we think Derek Mason is going to come in and kind of change the culture a little bit. The ground game is not there. Between Creedle and Peason, it just isn't there to be productive week one. So I think MTSU is going to have a big explosion. And I think that like you can't not project and score 50 points and have Vadiato outside your top like 10. So from 1 to 15, these players are not separated by a whole lot. Salter is like by far the one, but everybody else separated by like 2 or 3 points, to be totally honest. Like it's such a good week. Such a good week for matchups.
Yeah. So again, if just to give a clarification on that, as you mentioned, we do have Caden Salter projected very high this week, 43.85 fantasy points, and it is a massive difference. Nicholas, you're gonna have to help me out again. Vatiato, is that correct?
Vadiato.
He is the next best, 34.5. But then, yes, if you go all the way down to, we have Joey Aguilar there at 15. I mean, it's 28.38. But I mean, you're looking, if you even just go down to Jalen Milroe down at 13, it's 30.3. So 4-point difference. So, I mean, we have, for the most part, those guys all fairly close together with fantasy points, projected fantasy points.
It's like, it'll be better next week in terms of like clear differences. But when you're talking about Vadiato getting Tennessee Tech, Jackson Arnold getting Temple, Brady Cook getting Murray State, like I think there's a lot of variance there in terms of scoring and where we project these players. So that is the reason why we like Vadiato so much, and I don't have any issue with it. I think he's gonna be really solid this week.
Yeah, Tobias mentions in the chat we really like KJ Jefferson. Yeah, I mean, Felix kind of hit on this last night. I mean, you could argue that since Cam Newton, KJJ is the best quarterback from just like an athletic standpoint that, Gus has had in a long time. He really just kind of tends to get the best out of those guys. So as long as KJJ can stay healthy, we expect him to not even just have a good week, but a very good season. And yeah, Baylor, Caden Salter. I mean, I don't remember now off the top of my head who Liberty's Campbell.
Yeah,
they're expected to play Campbell. Yeah, have 43.85 projected fantasy points tonight. He should be in for a pretty big game.
8 of the top 12 or 8 of the top 10 players are playing FCS. So like try handicapping that, especially if you don't have an FCS model. So like it's a little challenging in terms of points scored. I'm just saying, we do run these through a model. Like they are not totally objective, to be honest. Like they're actually very calculated based on point spreads, implied totals, fantasy performance over time. Right. So there is a equation behind these. It's not just finger in the wind.
Since we've already talked quarterback and running back, you want to run through wide receivers real quick, and then we can talk some underdog and the games. All right. So wide receivers, again, if you guys have any questions, please keep them coming in the chat. So wide receivers, at 1, we have Tedoroa McMillan with Arizona. 2, Joey Hobart with Texas State. Sean Atkins with USF at 3. Rock Taylor with Memphis at 4. Number 5, Tez Johnson, Oregon. Number 6, which I accidentally messed that up, clearly, Deion Burks, Oklahoma. 7, Missouri's Luther Burden. 8, Caden Robinson with Appalachian State. 9, Cole Wilson, Texas State. 10, Jaden Higgins, Iowa State. 11, Eugene Wilson, Florida. 12, Isaiah Bond with Texas. At 13, Jalen Royals, Utah State. Jalen Noel with Iowa State at 14. And at number 15, Oregon's Evan Stewart. 2 Oregon Ducks in the top 15. Dylan Gabriel we have listed very high as well, just to check that out. Number 7 quarterback overall. What are your kind of thoughts and takeaways here from the wide receivers? And anybody have any wide receiver questions?
Yeah, Ted McMillan and Joe Hobart are by far our top 2. They're actually pretty much in a tier of their own. After that, it flattens out significantly. Jordan Moore, I would have to look where Jordan Moore is. I don't think he's super high because of all the turnover at Duke. We don't know exactly what to project. He's 32nd. We're projecting him 16 points. That sounds about right, actually. So we have a lot of duplicates in here. I'm gonna say it probably all week, and I'll just keep saying it, that when you have more than half the FBS is playing at the FCS, very difficult to say, well, why is this person ranked at X spot when like the 30 teams before them or players before them are also playing like cream puff matchups. So it is a week where you just basically can start anybody. I don't think rankings are super important this week because their matchups are so good. But we do have some top matchups. Oregon's a good one. They get Idaho. Texas State is a good one because we got that playing Lamar, and we have both Cole Wilson and Joey Hobart in our top 9. Iowa State, another really strong team. They get North Dakota. Not North Dakota State, who is much better. North Dakota. We really like the way that offense projects too. Rocco Becht is kind of just outside our top 15 at the position. So, I don't know. I think it's kind of in line with expectation based on implied point totals too.
Yeah. So David asked, what are realistic expectations for Jeremy Bernard in week 1? So we have him as a top 24 wide receiver listed at about 17 points. We have Jalen Milroe fairly high as well. Bernard comes over. He knows that Kalen DeBoer offense very well. We expect him to be the wide receiver for Alabama. Obviously not a very tough matchup for them going up against Western Kentucky. And let's be honest, if Western Kentucky is able to put up some points, we might see Alabama's offense kind of really going off in this one. So should be a pretty fun game for Jeremy Bernard. Felix does ask, and I'll let you answer this one. We have Isaiah Bond ranked here for Texas. Are you starting Silas Bolden?
Okay, so I don't want to complain. I'm trying to figure out how to say this nicely. Every report that I've seen out of Texas from a beat reporter has listed a different starting combination of receivers. So I don't know, to be totally straightforward. I don't know who to start at wide receiver. I know I'm starting Isaiah Bond. Behind him, am I starting Jonte Cook? Am I starting Matthew Golden? Am I starting Silas Bolden? Am I starting DeAndre Moore? I don't know, because nobody's been consistent about this reporting, except for Isaiah Bond being awesome. So I think I have better options than Silas Bolden week 1, to be frank. I think you can find somebody with a better matchup, with a more consistent role. He's not listed here, but like, for example, Demir Blankumsey at Memphis would be a great pivot if you're looking at starting Silas Bolden. Just so it kind of came out.
Just to answer the question here for Felix, we do have him at wide receiver 60 with about 12 points expected here for Silas Bolden. He is actually the only other one besides Isaiah Bond that we have in the rankings this week.
And that is
no Jonte Cook, no Matthew Golden.
That is purely an educated guess based on what we've heard from practice, that Silas Bolden's look really good. But to be honest, I don't know that I would play a Texas receiver behind him.
So we do not have Ja'Cory Brooks in the rankings here, Baylor. I'm assuming some of that is just, we don't really know what to expect of him with Louisville right now. Oh my goodness, his name just jumped out of my head that we have as the, oh my goodness. All I'm thinking of is Colin Lacey, who is injured and obviously not playing. Who is going to be their starting wide receiver?
We think Chris Bell's the wide receiver 1.
Chris Bell, thank you.
We think it's Chris Bell.
Yeah. Okay. I was like, I couldn't for the life of me not think of who that was. And we still have him fairly low ranked. Now they get Austin P, which should be a pretty easy matchup for him, but we have him at wide receiver 53 right now, Chris Bell.
We just don't really know what to expect from this Louisville offense, in my opinion, in terms of distribution between receiver. So you have to take a stand somewhere. And I think our stand at wide receiver 53 hedges the idea that it's maybe not Chris Bell. Like, I don't think you can play Ja'Cory Brooks either. Like, I don't think you could play Ja'Cory Brooks this week. You can if you're in a really deep league, I think, but I would try not to if I could avoid it. Chris Bell's a true sophomore there, right?
Yes,
I believe he was a freshman last year. Came on, was pretty productive and explosive. They were talking about him as being the best receiver even before transfer Colin Lacey went down. So he's a guy that I am expecting to be the one, but that doesn't mean it won't be Ja'Cory Brooks. I've watched a lot of Ja'Cory Brooks play. I'm willing to take the mystery box at this point, or talk about the Louisville offense. Maybe it's Mark Redmond, the tight end. Like maybe he's the answer that he's going to get a ton of work.
Yeah, I mean, we obviously, I think it was Austin and myself, we're pretty high on Ja'Cory Brooks after that one spring game in his freshman season where we actually called that game. Austin, Felix, and myself kind of YouTube live talked about that game. Things went downhill pretty quickly after that. Tobias mentions that he thinks that the Florida game could be an explosive one. I mean, we'll see. Miami, obviously, if Mario Cristobal really wants to have this, yeah, I mean, if Mario Cristobal wants to have this season everyone's expecting out of him, he's going to have to win that game. Right now, I mean, the total set at 53.5, which is not as high as some of the other games here, but I mean, it could be an interesting game. Graham Mertz back healthy, expecting him to have a pretty good year. So, I mean, I like Eugene Wilson. We've got him here ranked at 11.
I would not play Elijah Badger this week for what it's worth. He got listed with an or on the depth chart, and like I don't think I've heard a ton of positive buzz about him. Like I've heard good stuff, but not like, oh man, this dude's definitely it. So that worries me a little bit. I just wouldn't play Badger in general. I just don't really know what to expect from this Florida offense against Miami. Like Miami did lose a couple pieces in their secondary, but like how good is the offense going to be through the passing game? I don't know.
Andrew here in the chat says, tough to sit Horton and Restrepo, but they're tough matchups in your rankings say to go Burks and Trey Harris. Do you think that this is the last week to sit these guys with easier schedules coming? Rest of season, good.
Okay, well, problem number one is a good thing. You have a really good wide receiver room in general, so congratulations. The answer is potentially maybe with 4 like top 12 wide receivers, top 15 wide receivers. It's probably just gonna be a matchup question, right? So I've gone back and forth on this a lot. Nate Marquise says, yeah, like if you draft Torrey Horton as your wide receiver 1, you got to play him. I don't know that I totally agree. I think there's enough good options this week where you can look at the entire board and find better starters. And I think Deion Burks and Trey Harris are just that. Ole Miss is going to be without their wide receiver in 2 and 3 this week. I don't think Jordan Watkins is playing, and I don't think Antoine Wells / Juice Wells is playing. So neither of those guys are going. I think Trey Harris could see like 15 targets. Maybe not 15 since they're going to be up a lot, but like 10 targets. Like he's the primary receiving option. I think that puts Caden Prieskorn, their tight end, in a better spot too. But yeah, I mean, I think that that's how I would rank him, and that's how I would approach the situation. It's just scary to start Torrey Horton against. Yeah, like he could have a big game and then you're kicking yourself for it, but it's a tough matchup. They're 30-point dogs.
Yeah. So Tobias, we appreciate that you trust us. What if you have a minute, give us some of your other wide receivers. So give us your other wide receivers that you are benching for Elijah Badger. Maybe we can help you pick someone over Elijah Badger. We obviously don't know what your wide receiver room looks like, so maybe you do. I'm not saying that I am some very bad at times with my rosters. So sometimes I have to start players I really don't want to. So maybe you need to start Elijah Badger, not really sure. Give us your wide receivers and we will try and give you some help on if you need to actually start Elijah Badger or not. So while we are waiting for him to put that in the chat, let's talk a little bit about the games for tonight. So I mentioned, North Carolina, Minnesota, which I did not see that Darius Taylor was going to be out.
I don't think it's been officially announced.
Okay.
For what it's worth. I think I prefaced that when I said it earlier. I am anticipating him being out.
Gotcha. Okay.
Based on things that I've heard, based on the way the lines move, based on the way props have moved, I expect him to not play. But that doesn't mean that he won't play. It's just news is very hard to come by out of Minnesota and PJ Fleck.
Yeah.
Actually, extremely hard. It's one of the toughest places to get news from.
The sad part about this right here is I actually don't know if he's telling the truth or not because I've actually not set any of my lineups yet. So like he might actually be right. I might
play
be
basketball leagues.
Some Jackson State wide receivers at the moment. I will be doing that as soon as I jump off this stream. I will be setting my lineups. Well, that sucks because I actually played the higher on Darius Taylor's underdog 74.5 rush yards. But obviously, I mean, if he doesn't play, that's not going to hurt me. But I was kind of excited to see what he looked like tonight for Minnesota. Just see what they look like in general, that offense.
He has a hamstring injury, so if he does go, I expect him to be limited. I don't know. I just don't think you can roll him out based on like the collective amount of information that we have.
Gotcha. Let's see here. What else do we want to talk? Let's talk a little bit about that TCU Stanford game tomorrow night. Total set at 59.5. TCU's favored by 9.5 points. I mean, do you think that your Stanford Cardinals can pull the upset here? Absolutely, Baylor. Ask as many start-sit questions as you want. You can keep them going until we end the stream.
Sorry. What?
No, you're good. Do you expect your Stanford Cardinals to possibly be able to pull an upset over TCU tomorrow night? That's probably, I would think, the main game Friday night. I mean, I was expecting some better matchups tomorrow night. There's not a lot of good ones.
I think they could. I mean, I played them plus 10 when it hit earlier in the week, right? Like I like the Stanford team a lot. I think Stanford year 2 is going to be a significant improvement over Stanford year 1. I don't think TCU is anything special. I don't think they're going to be as bad as last year. I don't think they're going to be as good as they were 2 years ago. But yeah, I like if the number is 10. Like I like Stanford. I think they'll be competitive in the matchup. I think they'll score. If the total keeps dropping and it's dropped, I will probably play the over if we get a 58.
Yeah, the only ones. Have you played any underdog bets? Which, by the way, use promo code C2C for up to $250 back on your first deposit match. You played any? I played 3. Although Darius Taylor now I feel like is not gonna work out for me.
The ones that I played are largely gone.
Okay.
But I mean, I have like actual bets that are.
Yeah. What do you got? Go for it.
Hold on. Let me pull up the odds board real quick. Make sure none of these have actually moved on me. So I'll start with Jacksonville State. I think they're the right side tonight. I played it at 3. It moved to 2.5. I took a bad number. Then obviously the market came back and hit Jacksonville State pretty good. I certainly think that I think their defense is good enough, even though they are having a lot of turnover there. And I really don't like Coastal Carolina. Like I think there's a lot of problems on that roster. What else did I play? If you get it, and I know it's, if you live in Canada, I know it's available, or it was at least right before we hopped on. Villanova minus 9.5 against Youngstown State. Youngstown State has a significant amount of turnover on this roster, especially defensively. Villanova is just kind of in a different class of football than them. So I would not be surprised if Villanova won by like 14. I'd rather not play it above 10 though if I don't have to. What else do I have tonight? I think the Arkansas first quarter team total is kind of interesting.
Okay.
They get Arkansas Pine Bluff, who I think is one of the bottom 5 team in the FCS. So I think the total's 13.5. So like, are they going to score 2 touchdowns week 1 or in the first quarter? I think they could. That's probably my favorite way to play that game. And then that might be it for tonight.
Okay.
I think I kept it kind of tame. I'm waiting for a certain number on this game. Not saying it won't happen, but I'd like to play the Southern Utah under, but we'll see where it goes.
What was it set at? What was set at like 50? I thought I saw it earlier, Daniel. What was it? I know it was set at, I think it was like 50 plus earlier.
Yeah, well, it's now I don't remember. It was 43.5. Does that sound right?
I don't know. I'm pulling it up right now just to double check this. It is set at 55.
Okay. I might take the under on that just because I don't think Southern Utah is going to do anything, and I think Utah's going to be really conservative this week.
Okay.
Actually, we could talk about Utah if you want to do that because I think it's very
It's
very
an interesting game.
I don't know what to expect out of Cam Rising, to be honest. They said they're not going to run him as much week 1. Last time we saw him, he was off the field with an ACL tear in December 2022.
Yeah. Yes.
We haven't seen him for a while. We haven't seen his favorite target, Brant Keithy, for a while. What do both these guys look like? Yeah. I think they'll slow play week 1. I think Utah's gonna have no problem scoring against Southern Utah. It's just I don't know necessarily that Utah's gonna put like 45 of their own up.
Yeah. Oh, I bet it's going to have to be even more than that. Do you even think Southern Utah gets a touchdown?
I would have to look at like what their odds are, but I mean, I'm sure they score 7. Like, I bet their team total is like 7.5.
See, I was thinking they get like maybe a field goal. And so like, yeah, you're expecting, Utah to put up 54.
It's not like they can either. They've done so in the past, I think, to Southern Utah fairly recently. It's just, I think they're gonna play slow and try to just get out of there today. So you're asking a lot from Utah's offense that we know wants to take it easy week 1. And they're in Rice Eccles too. So like, what exactly do you expect Southern Utah to do there?
Baylor Bear asks for his running back spot, Micah Bernard, Le'Veon Moss, or Jaquindon Jackson. I mean, I can go to the rankings if that makes
it's
it
not
easier.
it's not Moss. The concern I have with Jaquindon Jackson is that he's been battling an ankle injury. I don't know how healthy he is. I assume if he's playing tonight, then he's good to go because you're not going to play him against Arkansas Pine Bluff, right? Like you're winning the game with or without Jaquindon Jackson. It don't matter. So if he's going to play tonight, then I feel pretty good about rolling him out. Micah Bernard, speaking of that Utah game, I think you can play him. I just don't know what the rotation's going to be like. The problem the concern that I have with him is there was a lot of talk in camp about like different players playing different roles in this backfield. So how many touches does Micah Bernard get? Especially in a blowout, right? Like they may want to rotate a lot more and get everybody touches. Like I know Jalen Glover's probably going to get double-digit touches. Does that mean Bernard gets 15? Does that mean Bernard gets 20? If Bernard gets 20 touches, he's going to probably pay off, right?
Yeah.
Because I mean, he's going to probably break 2 touchdowns. I just don't know that that's in the cards. So I would try to look elsewhere, but that doesn't mean that I'm outright fading any of those guys. Well, maybe Moss. I don't know that I want to play Moss.
So if you want to go by our rankings and projections, it would be Jaquindon Jackson, followed by Moss 8 spots behind him, and then Micah Bernard last, actually, with that ranked at RB 60. Jaquindon Jackson we have at RB 40 and Moss at 48. So
yeah, all players that we have questions about for one reason or another.
Yeah.
I'm trying. I mean, so
all 3 fairly closely projected to, even though there's like 20 spots,
probably like
difference.
2 points between them.
But Jaquindon and Le'Veon Moss, yes. What was Micah's again? Let me pull that back up real quick. Micah's 3 points. So I mean, yeah, it's not much of a difference between RB 40 and 20.
Yeah, they all have questions. I'm trying to play it as safe as I can this week with known commodities, generally speaking. I think that's the approach to take with these good matchups in week 1. Like not trying to get too cute.
Yeah, Andrew mentions in the chat he wants to see what Keithy looks like coming off a year off, tuning into that one tonight for sure. Absolutely, man. That's I mean, because Utah is I think by most expected to win the Big 12, so they'll be a playoff team. We talked a lot. I think it was like a week ago on Campus to Canton Live about this is legitimately, I believe Cameron Rising's like 7th, 8th year in college. He's coming back from injury too. I mean, they've got a lot of veterans on this team, guys who've been in school for a couple of years. So could be a very interesting team. Braden says, better go RJ Maryland. My Aggies aren't giving up a single yard on Sunday. Oh, my bad. I missed this question. Tight end question. I'll definitely let you answer this or I'll go to the rankings. Thoughts on RJ Maryland versus Houston Baptist or Mitchell Evans at Texas A&M?
So I don't know what our rankings say. I would guess they say Maryland
by a wide margin.
That's what I figured. RJ Maryland had like 162 yards on 8 catches last week, and he gets an even easier matchup in Houston Baptist. I'm gonna go with him. He's like the focal point of that offense. The receivers aren't very good, apparently. I don't want to say apparently. Like I kind of knew they weren't awesome, but like week 1 was a really poor performance from them. And I'm not a Mitchell Evans hater. I just am not really there yet on him. A lot of people are a lot more excited on him than I am.
Yeah.
So like our rankings probably reflect that this week.
What's up asks wide receiver spot: Noah Smith, Ja'Cory Brooks, or Josh Meredith. Is
there another option?
Brooks is probably out for sure. So obviously, if you guys listen to Campus Live a couple weeks ago, big Sam Houston guy, Noah Smith. Love Sam Houston and the Bearcats with a K or R.
Yeah.
Noah Smith is ranked the highest by for us as well by a decent margin.
Of those three, the answer is Noah Smith.
Yeah.
But and whatever, I'll just tell y'all now. So some of y'all may or may not listen. G5 Hive, great show. Profiles every school in the Group of 5 conferences. They may know that Quavis Humphreys is a thing for Sam Houston on the outside. I've drafted him probably a lot. So person to keep on your watch list for week 1 for sure, because they get Rice. They're 10-point dogs. We don't really know how the quarterback situation is going to play out. I don't know that all the quarterbacks are going to be ready to go without how like inexperienced they are transfer wise. Like they brought in like a bunch of new guys to learn the offense. I like head coach Casey Keeler. I don't know that I love him. I don't know. The answer is probably Noah Smith of that group though.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to go based on our rankings, Noah Smith at 38, Ja'Cory Brooks not ranked, and then Josh Meredith's coming in at 98. So, I mean, it's a pretty wide difference between, obviously, those two.
We have no idea how the rotation at Washington State's going to work out, which is why Meredith is low.
Yeah. Yes. I mean, if you have anybody else in there was up, let us know. We can definitely pivot.
I think it's Waza. Yeah, I think that's what it is.
Do the whole tongue out of it. It's still one of the greatest. Was that Budweiser, right? Yeah,
I think so.
Commercials. Gadsden too. Yeah. Oh, I'm very excited to see Aronde Gadsden back in action. He's going to help Kyle McCord to a great season, at least statistically, based on my bold call last night. So better stats than Will Howard. Better stats than Will Howard. All right, so I think Mox and I are going to stay live until 5:30 Eastern, so we can get ready for the. Well, I guess the games kick off in like an hour and a half. But if you have any other start-sit questions, I do need to go set all of my lineups, so I do need a little bit of time, so I can confer with the Camps to Canton rankings and set my lineups because I can't do anything on my own. But if you have any other start-sit questions, let us know in the chat. We will be happy to answer those for you guys. Let us know what game you guys are looking forward to the most as well. As a game, I know someone mentioned earlier, Andrew mentioned he wanted to watch Utah. I still think that UNC Minnesota game, which you talked about at the beginning of the show, could be very interesting. I will be watching Colorado versus North Dakota State again, just because I do think it would just be great drama and theater for college football to see Dion and Shador go down live on ESPN, being hyped up as for a lot of people, the number 1 draft pick. It seems like in all these mocks, I've not seen him outside, I believe, the top 5 so far. It's everybody expects Shador to be one of the top quarterbacks drafted. It would be semi-interesting. I'm not going to lie to see them lose to an FCS school tonight. Just would be.
It's not like North Dakota State is bad either. Right, they're number 2 or number 3 in terms of FCS odds to win the championship. So if it's an upset, I don't think it would be shocking. Yeah, I think their top safety is her, who's a legit NFL draft pick. So
yeah. Look, Austin, someday soon, when we have our own studio, I will happily stand up and talk about college football for 7 hours straight. Although I think we all know that would probably be Felix's job because he just brings more energy than 10 Suns combined. But it would someday soon. Maybe you know what? Hey. You know what, Austin? You posted. I'm gonna send that to Felix right now. Actually, hey Felix, we should do a YouTube show for 7 hours straight on a Saturday. Look how depressed Chris looks now because he knows he's going to get roped into this as well. We can watch college football and talk about all the big scoring plays while it's going on.
So, I want to give a little weather update real quick.
Yeah, give us the weather update.
It looks like Minnesota's going to get hammered pretty good by some storms. They look like they'll be moving out pretty quick though, so it might just be a quick delay in the beginning. I don't know what the drainage is like in Minnesota's field, but if it's not amazing, I kind of want to see if I can get some alt lines down on Marcus Major overs. That's really in the weeds. That's really in the weeds on some stuff.
That's how you win the money though, right there.
Yeah.
Braden says he can't wait to watch Utah to see if his Keithy bags will retire or bankrupt him. I mean, I think we're all in that boat. There's a lot of us who've been holding on to Brant Keithy for quite a while. So
second most drafted player in Underdog this year.
All right, so what's up? Ask flex spot question: running back Kane Roberts, Caleb Jackson, Monte Watkins, or wide receivers Jordan Moore, Malachi Fields. You need to start 2 out of those 5. 5.
Okay. Probably Kanye Roberts, App State running back. I think I like that matchup this week pretty good for them. And I mean, I don't know that he has competition in that backfield either. So I could see him getting 15, 20 touches pretty easily. Caleb Jackson, I think, is going to split. I think USC's defense could be better this year. Doesn't mean Caleb Jackson won't run crazy, but like he is also splitting with Josh Williams. So what does that look like? I like Jordan Moore a lot. Again, another player that I really don't know what to expect from because Duke gets Elon, Malik Murphy's first year, Manny Diaz is head coach. Like, what exactly do we see from this Duke offense? Yeah. Malachi Fields, I kind of know what to expect. Virginia gets Richmond. Richmond's pretty good, but not like, I wouldn't say super competitive. Malachi Fields is a player I think we have pretty high in our rankings. Like, he'd be my number 1 of that group, and then Roberts would be 2.
So if you want to go off of the Campus to Canton rankings, yes, Malachi Fields is the highest at 21. Then it is Kanye Roberts at 28. Running back, I'm sorry, Malachi Fields 21, wide receiver, the 21st ranked wide receiver, 127th player overall, while Kanye Roberts comes in as the 19th ranked running back, 88th player overall. So he is actually higher than Malachi Fields. So if you need 2 and you want to go based off our rankings, it is Kanye Roberts and Malachi Fields. We actually don't have Caleb Jackson ranked. Some of that, I'm sure, is due to the fact that we still, while we think he is by far the best running back at LSU, they are talking up everybody under the sun in that running back room getting carries. We don't know what that offense is really going to look like. So
I have rosters with him that I'm not starting him on, and I'm pivoting, and I think you can certainly do that. This week is the week to pivot until we get more information. It is literally the best week for FBS on FBS matchups. Keep it safe. Let a week of information just rush over you, and then reevaluate in a week.
Yeah, and I mean Jordan Moore is fairly high as well. We have him at 38, but I mean it's still he's a good 18 spots behind Malachi Fields and about 4 points. So not a big difference, but still pretty big. Luther Burden, yeah, I mean I'm just gonna throw these back up for those who missed. We do expect Luther Burden to have an amazing night tonight against Murray State. Number 7 wide receiver overall. We have Brady Cook fairly high in our quarterback rankings as well. I hate that so many of these games are. I just canceled my ESPN Plus membership because I was just I don't use it.
Mistake.
It was a mistake because then I realized how many games are going to be on ESPN Plus. So now I got to go back in probably after the show is over and bring it back so that I can watch games tonight. Because like Utah is going to be on ESPN Plus, and I think so is Missouri. So,
well, I watch all the FCS football over there.
Oh, do you? I did that.
Great for it. Yeah.
I mean, if I'm being honest, I have it on there for FA Cup. Watch it for soccer, and then they have
don't care
the oh god, why am I forgetting?
We do not. What does Mike Thomas say? We do not care.
We do not. Yeah, we do not care. Austin cares. Austin's in there somewhere. He cares. Serie A. That's the name I was looking for in the Bundesliga. So all on there as well. So yeah, I was. But yeah, I will be tuning in probably to the Utah game. I don't know that Missouri Murray State's really going to get me going. I wish I could do a quad box on ESPN Plus like I can on YouTube TV. That would make my life a lot easier. I used to do the 4 TVs in the living room and then have both my laptops up and have 2 games up on the laptops as well, so I could just be watching nothing. Those are the good old days. And then a little behind the scenes here, my youngest son, who you may actually be able to hear because he's decided not to listen to me and is standing out here on his VR headset. Was playing some game and accidentally took his handle and hit the 78-inch TV. So that one, it's got a nice big crack on the side of it now. So
does it still work?
It does, but like where the score box,
that's your Colorado football TV.
Where the score box is where it's like messed up. So like you cannot actually see the score of the games. It's very frustrating. But yeah, overall it still works. I will have it up because the quad box is only going to be that top left game. That's all right. We don't care.
A live betting nightmare.
Yeah, exactly. Let's see here. Any other questions? Like I said, we're going to try and, it's 5:30 Eastern right now. We'll give it a couple more minutes if anybody has any other questions. And then we will obviously be back again Saturday morning at 9 a.m. Eastern, apparently. Felix's fault. Nobody else's but his. But we'll be back for just 2 straight hours of coverage. I'm sure we'll recap some of the games for Thursday, Friday, and then talk about, obviously, massive slate Saturday, USC, LSU Sunday, and then, unfortunately, well, I shouldn't say unfortunately, Thomas Castellanos, Boston College could make that Florida State game a little bit of fun, but Florida State, Boston College.
So actually, I have a question about that game.
Yeah.
Do you think we see calls for Dion to replace Mike Norvell if they end up losing that game? Because they've already lost Georgia Tech. Losing they're going to be home for Boston College, right? Or they
yes, they're home. No, they're home.
Okay, that's what I thought. You're not sending them to Ireland and then to Boston. I mean,
you just stop in at Boston. Like, I'm looking now because
the Irish
don't know.
Florida State's gonna hate the Irish and
no, they are playing. They're playing at Doak Campbell, so they are in.
Okay, so I thought. What game are we most excited for? You want to end on that?
Yeah, we can do that. I mean, are you talking about just tonight? This whole
let's talk about the whole weekend.
What can I give an answer for each night? Because there's different.
Do however you want, sweetheart.
Okay, thank you. So tonight it's definitely the Colorado game because I think everybody's expecting Colorado to go out there and just beat up on North Dakota State. So if I had to pick one, it would be that one because I actually think it could be a close game. And if Colorado gets upset, it's going to be just a lot of fun to see the aftermath of that. Friday, it's definitely that TCU Stanford game. I mean, I love Cam Cook, running back for TCU. I want to see what he looks like. Obviously, Mox has been the main conductor of the train for Stanford, but we all like a lot of the players on that team. Elike Manor, Ashton Daniels, Cedric Irvin. So, I want to see what they look like. Saturday, that's the interesting because I think everybody's going to go Clemson, Georgia. It's a tie for me between dang it. Obviously, if I have to pick one, it's Notre Dame, Texas A&M. I think that actually could be a really good game. What is Connor Wigman going to look like being back and healthy? But there was another game, and now for the life of me, I'm not. Oh, Miami, Florida. Florida, Billy Napier fighting to save his job. What we expect to be a fairly good offense, and then I've said that I think Mario Cristobal and the Miami Hurricanes could have a top 15 offense this year, with possibly what we see out of how bad Clemson may look. Everybody was predicting Florida State to win the ACC. That's probably out the window now with losing to Georgia Tech. Miami's got a chance to go out there and kind of put their foot down already in week one. So that's another big game. I think that's one early window game, and then Texas A&M, Notre Dame is the late night game. So yeah, but I'm looking forward to both those. Obviously Sunday, Monday, they only have the one game, but if I had to pick one game overall, it would be the Sunday night game. LSU, USC, where there's a realistic shot that both those teams put up 30, 40 points because neither one of those defenses. We think USC's defense could be better, but if it's not, both those defenses could be really bad and both those offenses could be really good. So that will probably be the most fun game to watch this weekend.
I really do agree with you on most of those. I think the most interesting team. I mean, I'm excited to watch my Gamecocks. I want to see what Lenore Sellers looks like as a starter. Very, very excited to kind of see if he's always cracked up to be, which Campus Canton loves the Lenore Sellers more than South Carolina fans love Lenore Sellers, and that is quite a predicament to be in.
That is true. I mean, it's driven mostly by Felix Sharp, but I actually think Austin and myself have him. I don't think we have him at QB3. Well, we both have him pretty. I think we all have him for the most part top 5. So I mean, it's we as a company are very, very high on Lenore Sellers. Andrew, thank you so much for the super chat as well. I don't know if you meant to put something else in there. So if you did have another comment, you want to throw it up real quick, we can answer it. I don't see anything in there for that. Usually someone puts a comment or question in on those. We'd be happy to answer that before we jump out of here. But yeah, it's going to be fun. Over under Will Howard interceptions against Akron. If I put it at 0.5.
No, he won't throw enough to throw a pick.
Over. Take the over. He's going to throw one. Just you watch.
Oh my gosh.
I know. I need to stop hating on Will Howard. It's a problem. It's a problem I have. And once he goes out there and just absolutely destroys Akron, I'll be all in like the good Ohio State fanboy that I am. And I'll be, talking about him for the Heisman and whatnot. So,
all right, let's see if he can throw deep this year.
He can't. We'll end it on that, though. If again, you guys join us Saturday morning, 9:00 a.m. Eastern, 2 straight hours of 3 straight hours?
I don't know. I'm not committing to any time.
I think if we do it at 9 a.m. Eastern, because that's 8 a.m. my time, which means that's 3 straight hours of college football coverage.
is.
Felix and myself will do it. And I'm sure Austin will probably show up at some point with coffee and his hybrid dynasty cup and just be mad at the world that we made him get up that early. Join us at some point then. Obviously, we'll have Nicholas Ian Allen as well from Campus to Canton's Winning Edge, one of the smartest guys in all of college football. We will be live to pregame all of that stuff on Saturday. Probably, like I said, recap some of the Thursday, Friday night games. The guys enjoy it. College football's back from now through mid-January. Was it January 20-something is the national championship? So from now through mid-January, cannot wait. It's going to be a lot of fun. A lot of sleepless nights coming for the Campus to Canton crew, but it's what we live for. So everybody enjoy the games tonight. You can catch us on Twitter and check us back in Saturday morning at 9 a.m.